Sanjeev, I'm so excited to talk with you today. We're here at Generate, and you're going to be doing a session that's really focused on developers. And this is something that is changing right now because of AI, the workflow. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This is an absolutely excellent event, a very different style of event at Generate. You know, how we are all, it's a much closer and a more intimate event, I would say, than, large hall full of hundreds of people. So very excited to be here with Pete and the team. I think, when ChatGPT came out, right, and generative AI became more mainstream, developers were probably the first cohort of people impacted by it, right? Because code generation became an area which was one of the early tools, right? We have a couple of companies here which have code generation or co-pilot, so to speak, for developers, which are become very mature over the last couple of years they've been around. And what we are seeing is developers, some of the developers struggling with it, some of the developers who are working in large teams challenged with adopting it because the way developers and development teams have worked does not fit in the workflow which you need to have when using some of these tools. You need to evolve the workflow. It's not like the workflow is wrong, but the way we have operated in the past, where we can collaborate across distributed teams. People I've worked with for a long time, I don't need to be very descriptive with them to tell them what I'm looking for if I'm working with another developer.
Right.
But if I'm talking with the AI, I need to be extremely descriptive about what I want them to write. I need to be very descriptive about how the AI is informed with the code we've already written. So I think those are the changes which are unique and new and still evolving. And that's my session today, to go talk about what those changes are and how we see developers adopting these tools more effectively.
What do developers need to do to make that change?
I think developers exist on a spectrum of, I would say, their ability or their willingness to adopt AI. On one hand, we have developers who are like looking at the latest tools. They'll be downloading the latest models and playing with them. And those people are good and they're very demanding about what they want these tools to do, obviously. At the other end of the spectrum, we have developers who say, I'm an artist, my code is art.
Oh, yes.
No AI is touching it, Those are the people who already also do their own oil changes and fix their own cars, right? So we've got to figure out where the developers are on that spectrum and make sure we as leaders who are asking them to adopt these tools, or as tool vendors or tools technologists who are providing these tools to them, understand where developers are and give them room to grow and learn. But at the same time, make it very clear that you are being measured against a developer who is using these tools. The cheese has moved. And if you don't use them, you'll be at a disadvantage.
And the key here is tool.
It's
right?
a tool. It's a
so
tool.
It's
an
not
assistant.
a replacement, but it's supposed to be
Absolutely
used
not.
as a tool. But there is a lot of hesitancy because I think there is fear that it would replace somebody, or it's just new, or any number of reasons.
I've been in the software development space for more years, actually not decades, than I would like to admit. And whenever a new technology comes out, or a new way of coding comes out, right? Back in the day, we had these models where you could create a model, it would generate code. We had infrastructure as code. We've always had tools which bring in more automation or layers of abstraction. Every time that's come, developers have been afraid, saying, my job will be replaced by this tool. But all that's done is change the abstraction at which developers work. Rather than me having to know what the geometry of my disk looks like when I'm installing software, today you just download it and it just works.
Right.
Same way, right? Look at our phones, right? And iPhone, right? You don't need to worry about what kind of CPU it has. Does it have a GPU? It just works. And you download an app, it works, right? And you don't even probably know how many apps you have on your
I have no
iPhone.
idea.
No idea. Nobody does, right? So I think all it does is raise the abstraction. And, as technology providers, our job is to make that consumption easier. And as developers, we need to think and say, okay, I'm a developer, I work at this abstraction layer. With this tool, I need to work at this abstraction layer. I need to learn how to talk to an AI. We call it prompt engineering, whatever you want to call it. I need to learn as a developer how to work at a higher level of abstraction. Maybe I don't need to write every line of code myself, right? My AI will help me do it, but I'm still in charge. I'm still the person who can think, the AI still can't think. It only knows what it knows.
When we talk about code as art, and for an artist, right, the art is the most fun part for an artist. So are we to a point where someone can pick and choose what types of AI tools they're using? If maybe, yeah, AI can write this code, but I really enjoy writing this code.
Absolutely. Like, I'm a blogger. I write a blog. I have yet to use AI to write a blog post because I like writing my own blog. What I'm using AI for is I would go to like a Perplexity or a ChatGPT and say, this is the topic I'm writing a blog post on. What questions should I ask? Or ask it to research something for me, which I would have spent hours doing. Right? Or not even know about because I didn't know about it, right? So the AI can help me and assist me, but at the end of the day, I'm still writing the end result. So we as developers need to look at our workflow and say, okay, which are the parts which I do not enjoy? Which are the parts that take our time crunch? Which are the parts that become an interrupt for me and, reduce my productivity?
The dishes, the laundry,
or even at work,
Right.
somebody coming and
Or at
asking a
work.
question saying, hey, where is the documentation for this?
Right.
Now I have to find the link and send it to them. Instead, they can ask an internal AI which knows where everything is, where the knowledge is, right? Today, for those of us who use multiple tools, it's like, is this on Slack? Is it on Teams? Is it on a conference page? Is it on a wiki somewhere? Where is this information? I'd rather just ask a chatbot.
Right.
So that's time saving for me. Research, as I mentioned, is time saving. Trying to understand millions of lines of code, which now I'm trying to debug, is something AI can do. But I can still write my front end. I can still write my intricate, complex code, which is where most thinking is needed rather. And because of AI, now I can experiment faster. I can start writing code, have AI finish it, test it to see whether it works or not. Back in the old days, I remember when I started coding, there weren't even laptops. So I got on a train once and I gave up fixing a problem all day. I remember getting in the train, I was taking the metro home. Halfway through, I realized, there's another way I can test this code. I got out of the metro, took the train back, fixed the code. No more metro. I had to sleep on the couch in the office.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Worth
the
it,
kind of
right?
I fixed the problem.
Yes.
But that's the kind of things I go, if AI was there, instead of me trying 12 ways to fix a bug, it would have probably told me, don't even try these 10 ways, try these 2.
Right.
I think that's where we as developers need to open our minds. And not just developers, artists also, everybody, right? We just attended a session by some artists who were talking about how they use AI to generate some beautiful art. They actually brought some of their paintings here. So I think the world is opening up. We need to make sure we are not, resistant to change.
Tell me a little bit about what brought you to the AI space. Not necessarily in terms of like job trajectory, but like in your heart, what made you say, I love doing this?
Well, it's not new in the sense when I was in the 90s in school, we had neural networks back then, right? I was working in computer graphics and animation, and I was at George Washington University, and we were training a model, right, a neural network to do the limbo, right? We had created this animation artifact, and this was a very common problem people in the graphics were trying to solve back. There's actually the final team that made it use the Pixar lamp, Luxo the lamp, taught it to do the limbo.
Awesome.
But it taught itself. It was AI. So AI is not new. It's been around since the 60s. What's happened today is that the computing power, due to the GPUs and the lowering of cost, has become available, that AI is now pervasive. And the second thing which happened which more recently is with the ChatGPT, the model, what is known as a transformer, created the concept of generative AI and made it easier, that it can actually talk to us in natural language, right? So AI has become more mainstream, it's become more pervasive. So it is just natural for somebody who is, likes to stay at the cutting edge to say, AI is the place where I want to be. And it's a vast space. There's still generative AI, there's still analytical AI, I was talking to somebody who's in the healthcare space. AI researchers just won a Nobel Prize for protein research. So it's become a part of our lives. And, I think anybody who's ignoring it is going to miss out.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot to miss out on because there's so many
Absolutely.
incredible things happening right now. And here we are at Generate, and this is a brand new event. Tell me a
Absolutely.
little bit about why you wanted to be a part of it.
Well, first and foremost, Pete Erickson, who hosts this event, is a friend. I've known him for a very long time. So when he was starting this event, I've spoken at previous events of his. I really like the concept, right? Because you have the traditional event where you go and there's like 1,000 people, you're in a big hall, you're presenting, people tune out, right? It's that information is not curated for you, right? And you are going, okay, is this a vendor trying to pitch me something? Is this somebody trying to sell me something? Is this somebody just trying to get some, clicks, so to speak? Or I think the concept which Pete is coming up about having more trusted environments where these are curated events with curated sessions which have a very well defined purpose. I think it's a very better format. It's more focused, and of course it's related to AI, so how could I resist?
And also trust, you mentioned,
Absolutely.
and that is something that's so important in the AI space.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons, if you look at a lot of people who are resistant to AI, is because they're like, I don't trust the answer. How do I know it's true? And in the early days of ChatGPT, which is, or generative AI, which is just 2 years ago, right? In the early days, and those, when rocks were soft, and we saw a lot of examples of hallucinations, of things giving information which was totally wrong. That is true today also, but the models have improved, and you've been able to do regenerative learning, inverse RAG, and there are other techniques which companies are using to make sure that the answers you get are correct. Will AI be correct all the time? Humans are not correct all the time, so AI won't be. I think we need to figure out how to spot some of those areas where, we are not sure, or we believe the AI is not accurate, that we validate that, right? Trust but verify, as they used to say. But I think the trust part is very important, and the organizations, the companies that make the most trustworthy AI will be the ones who win.
Sanjeev, thank you so much.
Absolutely, great to be on.